This video is for people new to the game who are trying to sort out the relative importance of the various map resources that Civ 7 has to choose from. And I'm just going to let you know, this guide will keep things as simple as possible, but there's no one way to go, and I'll explain why. Still, I'm going to tell you which 5 resources you should, in most cases, make a beeline for at the very start of the game. Once you have your leader and your civ and your mementos and you're ready to hit the map, what are your best options when you see your starting resources? I'm going to give you some idea which type of resources to look for early on and discuss how those preferences will change as your game develops. We're going to focus on Antiquity since that's the starting age and it's where your resource choices can make possibly the biggest difference by giving you that initial boost. First, a broad overview of the resources you can get. Food resources help your cities grow. Production resources help you build in your settlements. Gold resources help you speed up the buildings and units you're producing. Happiness resources make sure that your settlements don't go into negative happiness and slow growth and production, or maybe, in a crisis, revolt. While global happiness resources lead to more celebrations. Science and culture resources lead to advances in the technology and civics trees and help your civilization develop. And then there are camels. They're a thing unto themselves, and they help you store more resources. Now, some resources are for your cities only, while the ones called bonus resources can go either in your cities or your towns. Meanwhile, empire resources apply to your civilization as a whole. We'll go into more detail on this when we look at some individual resources. I'm going to tell you the optimal 5 first resources you can get. Now, I'm not saying you have to get all 5 of these. I'm saying if you see any one of these, it should be your first pick. I need to let you know, though, that in the debate over whether food or production is more important in the earliest turns, I come down on the food side every time. That is my bias. And there are other ways to approach this. But these 5 food resources are generally good no matter what approach you take. And again, if you find one of these, take it, and then you might move on to other types of resources. So I'm not saying take these 5 in sequence or anything. For me, the best first resource, and it's not a 5-way tie, but the best first one is a compromise in that whole debate I just mentioned. It's cotton. And cotton gives you +2 food and +2 production. After that, we've got wild game, which gives +2 food in cities, but +4 food in towns. That's one of the resources that actually works better in towns than in cities. We'll see more of these. Then I like dates for their +2 food and +2 happiness. You could arguably swap places between this and wild game because the extra food for game doesn't pay off until you have your first town. Another good combo is in mangoes, which give +2 food, +2 culture. And I have fish at number 5, despite the fact that it has +3 food. If it's the first food resource you can reach, that means you have to essentially extend your settlement limits over water and delay getting more land hexes for your buildings. So that's why I don't have it higher on my list here. If you're getting fish, you're out in the water, and that's not immediately helpful. The other 3 food resources are not listed in any particular order here. They're rice, which gives a +5% additional food to your empire, but that takes time to pay off. And we have another empire resource, silver, that gives +1 gold, but also +1 food in each settlement. Finally, there's crabs, which gives you +1 food on each warehouse building in that settlement. But that's not useful until you build your first warehouse. So most likely, even though it's a bonus resource, you're going to have it first in your first city because that's where it's actually going to start paying off for you. Other things like navigable rivers and mountains and geographical elements, including natural wonders, can make up for a shortfall of food resources. If your map placement doesn't have a food resource immediately visible, make sure that you have resources that can at least help you produce things a little quicker. So if there's no cotton, other production resources you'll want to look for are gypsum, which I would almost put at the top here because it works in towns and cities, hides, tin, again, another one that can switch back and forth, clay, wool, and llamas. Since you're starting with a city, by the way, like I said, you can slot either the city or bonus resources in. The Empire resources have their own automatic slots, which you can't adjust. You can't do anything with those. Tin and hides and gypsum are my first picks. But I also like wool for its double duty with happiness. And then there's lapis lazuli, which you can only get from being the suzerain of an economic city-state, which is way outside the parameters of our discussion right now. Now, there are other types of production. For example, we have resources that help produce military units. Hardwood gives you plus 10% towards naval units. Iron gives plus 1 combat strength to your infantry. And salt gives an overall 20% towards producing units. And those bonuses stack, by the way, so keep that in mind. You can get places pretty far with some of these. When you're first starting out, salt is good for getting your first units up and running. So I would look for that over the others. But the iron can come in handy sooner than you might want if you're under attack. So maybe that determines your decision. And hardwood helps once you're deeper into the game, unless you have a good coastal start and you opt for a navy first. You can see how some of these determinations depend on where you are and what your situation is and who your neighbors are. Then there are wonder production resources. There are 3 of these: marble, ivory, and limestone. Marble and ivory each give you 10% towards producing wonders set in certain terrains. If you have marble and ivory, I think you cover all or most of the possibilities, actually. And then limestone gives you 5% on producing any wonders anywhere, but only 5%. And keep in mind, again, these bonuses stack, so you can get some pretty good discounts at the Wonder Barn if you have the right resources. Now, I should mention here the 3 warehouse-dependent resources. They're clay, crabs, and turtles, giving you either plus 1 production, food, or culture. They're absolutely handy because they give you plus 1 production, food, or culture for each warehouse you have in that settlement. So that can add up pretty quickly. But they do require a warehouse in the settlement to give you anything. So the early warehouse buildings in Antiquity are the granary, the brickyard, saw pit, fishing quay, and harbor. Now, if you have more than one of these, like I said, these bonuses stack. But your cities are more likely to get the most use out of these resources, even though you can place them in towns. So keep that in mind. Initially, even though they're labeled as bonus resources and they can go in towns, they're not as useful there until you put in some warehouses in one or more of your towns. Like if you're getting a town ready to become a city and you just haven't converted them yet, and you've started adding in warehouses occasionally when you have some spare cash, you could put one of these resources in there and earn, production or food or culture. And let's talk for a moment about the cities versus towns rivalry for resources here. We have some that go back and forth. We have kaolin, gypsum, and pearls. They work best when they're placed in any city other than your capital. Well, city-to-city rivalry. But they can go in your capital too, they just don't earn you as much. Meanwhile, tin and wild game work best in towns rather than in cities. And the most interesting one, cowrie, gives you +4 gold in cities, but +2 science in towns, which I think makes for some cool decision making. When it comes to happiness resources, there's definitely a divide over how important some people feel they are. Let me explain why that is. There are 2 types of happiness: local, in each settlement, and global, an overall accumulation that leads to celebrations eventually. Celebrations give you 10 turns of your chosen bonus, so you want to accumulate global happiness for sure. As for local happiness, if you exceed your settlement limit, the number of settlements you can have for your civ, you lose 5 happiness in every settlement. Keep that in mind. If your total happiness in a settlement drops below 0, you suffer growth and production penalties in that settlement. And if you run into the wrong crisis, possibly a revolt, and you could lose the settlement. I only say this based on experience, not because I think you'll lose settlements. It's happened to me. Now, if you can live with that decrease in growth and production, then happiness becomes less of a priority. And this is where the dividing line is. And like I said, the major exception is the unhappiness crisis. There are buildings you can construct to make up for that deficit if your resources aren't cutting it. But I'm going to talk about the resources that can help you out as well. And I'm definitely on the pro-happiness side of the divide, by the way. So I'm just going to list them here in, I think, alphabetical order, because their usefulness is going to depend on your situation, especially if you also want the other yield associated with some of these resources. We have dates, good all-purpose resource, dyes, gold, llamas, pearls, wine, and wool. These all will give you happiness to one degree or another. And you'll notice that these are a mix of empire, city, and bonus resources. So keep that in mind when you're gathering them. The empire resources will feed into your global happiness stockpile and won't help any shortages you have in your settlements. So that's one thing that I didn't catch on to right away when I first started the game. So see what type of resource it is. If it's empire, it's not going to help you in that town that's at -2 happiness. And if you're wondering, I just want to say again, I'm a believer in keeping the happiness flowing because it means that you can keep building new settlements with less of a chance of tanking your local production and growth. And I just think that's important. It doesn't slow you down. Mind you, looking for happiness sometimes can slow you down, as in life, I guess. Of course, if you're going for a science or a culture win, other resources are going to be necessary once you've covered the basics like food and production. Flax is a great one for me because I might not have decided yet which type of victory I'm going to go for, and that gives me yields of both science and culture. So it keeps my options open. For culture, though, we have silk, turtles, mangoes, and wine. Then for science, we have incense and cowrie. I hadn't noticed the culture bias in antiquity resources before, but, well, there it is. Not many science resources. Then we have the gold resources, all of which feed into your global empire total. So you don't have to worry about what type of source it is. All your gold eventually goes into your total. The first two, jade and lapis lazuli, which, as I said, you can only get from an independent power, give you a percentage improvement based on that settlement's income. The other four give you specific yields. although the +1 gold for gold and silver apply to every settlement in your empire. So these two become more valuable as you grow your civilization. The first ones you want to snap up out of all of these are rubies and cowrie, for me anyway, for that +4 no strings attached gold early on. That's really valuable. But I would not make these the first overall priorities. You want your food and production to be taking off first. Oh, and let's not forget the final category, camels. And in this category, we have camels that give you +2 resource slots in your cities. Very valuable. We'll come back to them briefly later. Next, we're going to look at what to look for with your starting location in terms of resources. We'll look at specific examples and make some assessments about the relative usefulness of each location based on what special resources they have for us. Here isn't too bad. We have 2 sources of food. Right here we have the kaolin, and we have the cotton, also a source of production. So not too bad. Now this is closer. It's only 1-2 hexes away from you start. You're going to be looking at resources that are within a 3 hex range all around. That's the size of your eventual city's footprint. Now, let's see. It might be worth your while if you want to get the production that you get from cotton. 1, 2, it'll take you 3 growth spurts to get up there. You're going to be laying down 1 hex at a time. Let's just start our village here, or city. So we press there. A little better, things are a little brighter now. We got some better sense. Now, we don't see everything that's going to be within our range, but what's visible is the cotton and kaolin and the wine. Not bad overall, really. Definitely some good growth sources there. Not a lot of production or other items. So this is, I don't hate this. And you've got some good backdrop here for protection on one side. Yeah, not terrible. But we'll take a look at another site. Okay, what do we have here? You'll notice, by the way, that you do have resources on all these other spots. You have some food and happiness here, food, happiness, and gold here on the river. Rivers are usually a good source. This is good. You're on a navigable river here. You'll get some good yields from this area eventually as your city develops and the whole area develops. Now, interesting, you have some access to wonders production here. You have the marble over here, and you have the limestone over here. So if that was the kind of game you were playing, maybe you would settle for a place like this that could build on wonders if that's what you're going for. And then you have some silver, which is going to give you some gold and food in all your settlements. Nothing amazing that's going to help you immediately, though, except for this river. Those basic resources are going to develop over time, and you're going to have, well, you're going to have a lot of stuff going on here. So for that reason, it's not a terrible settle. It's not ideal, but it's in terms of your other resources here. But yeah, it does not suck. Right. Oh, wow. Okay. This is it. Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't see that. This is more interesting. I think you have more to work with here than some of the other ones we've looked at. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 special resources. You have a goody hut over here, which will give you a quick bonus. We're not looking at, your overall start, so, we're not going to take that into consideration. We're just looking at your resource start. So what do we have? We have some silk, and we have more silk. So a pretty good culture start if you were going that route. And then we have cotton. always like to see cotton at the very beginning. It's my favorite one to see. And then we have rubies if you're looking for a little cash. Again, not the first one you would develop. You'd probably come out this way, 1, 2 on your second growth event and get the cotton. Then after that, it would be up to you, I guess. Maybe the rubies, or just develop wherever you can get more food. Like right here, I mean, you get that on the way to the cotton, which is good. Get 2 food there. And then down here, of course, eventually you can get your camels, your walking storage units, which will come in handy with all these resources you can collect. So you will want a camel pretty soon in this game, I suspect. Okay, with this one, there's a few things going on. I don't hate this one. You have a navigable river here, but again, we'll focus on the resources. You have a source of food here, and it's only 2 tiles away. You have a source of science here that's 2 tiles away, the incense. And then you have some silver over here, which can bring in food and gold. So, 1 apiece. Not awesome, but as you grow, that'll definitely improve. So, I mean, this is okay. It'd be nice if there were 1 more special resource someplace. But I'm not seeing anything there. So, workable, not preferable. Okay, I'm just looking here. Well, I don't hate this. I don't hate it. You've got some beachfront property here. If I were selling real estate, I could do a good number on this. Now, I do like that you have wild game up here, so that's handy. Very handy. And it's only 2 tiles away. That's good. You've got some gold and some jade up here. You can build your financial empire. And you've got some wine. Now, these aren't going to be handy for a while. This one is going to be useful, but not immediately. Yeah, really the only one that you can make use of immediately from the special resources is the wild game. So this one's a toss-up. I'm not excited about it, but look, it's one of those that I could try and make work and see what happened. Oh my. Okay. Well, if you want to get rich, this is the place to be. You've got silver, rubies, gold, more gold. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to grow that quickly or what you're going to be able to build, but oh my, look at that. And then you have some cavalry support here, and then so you've got 6 special resources, and then you have camels to haul away all your ill-gotten gold. Yeah, it would be interesting to try this one, just to see if you could keep it going long enough to get filthy rich. But the getting started might be difficult. Keeping it going, though, well, a lot of gold can grease the way, right? Wow. Okay. So this one, see now this one I might be willing to forego my absolute need to have lots of food because of these 2 little guys here. We have 2 hides that are going to give you +3 production. We have some food generally, a few spots where we have a fair bit of food, and then if we're building out towards the water, we've got cavalry here as well. So with some gold initially and then eventually some science. Oh, and we have fish. Oh, I didn't see the fish. Oh, well, there's almost too many resources. They're going to get in the way of putting down too many buildings. But aside from that, I think it's one of my favorite sites. You have a little bit of mining area here. never mind that. But in terms of the resources themselves, pretty good. I mean, like I said when I was talking earlier about fish, you kind of don't want that as your first food resource. Maybe I would build out here to the hides, you know, develop these food areas first, then develop some hides. They're relatively close by. Then maybe pick up the fish once I've got some solid ground to build on as part of the growing city. And then you have something to help your military and the cowrie for when you need some happiness. Or I'm sorry, gold, yeah. And then some science. And then something for your naval units. The hardwood almost seems like an unnecessary bonus at that point. Overall, this might be the best site we've looked at so far. I think others might disagree, but, well, you've heard why I like it. Oh, well. This one I would make work just to do it. Because I really don't like turning down cotton. And the double cotton, well, so you're getting two food, two production. So you start here, you build up one, two, well, they're both three away, but that means the second one's only four away. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. You've got lots of food and production at that point. You picked up a couple of things on the way. And then you've got cavalry, you've got some silver. Okay, I'm going to say not ideal as a start, but I'd be game. I'd be game for that, just for these two, because I think that would be kind of interesting to see if I could make them work. And I would definitely be focusing on the water. And yeah, I would get out on the water as quickly as I could and see what's out here. There's something right there. I don't think, can I see it? Oh, and we got some marble. So yeah, altogether 5 special resources. 2 of them are cotton, and yeah, I would make a go of this one somehow. I think this could work. I'm gonna say no. We have camels right here, right on your doorstep, but we don't need those right away. We don't need the iron right away. And is that it? Boy, not a lot of food. Maybe once you get out here a bit, but wow. A lot of mining, a lot of production. I don't know. Let's see. Does this give it? No, this doesn't give us anything else. I mean, I would say no to this myself. I don't think I could make this work. I'm liking this for reasons other than the special resources. Some interesting terrain to work with here. But we've got our cotton. We have kaolin. And we have some culture. We have some gold. And we have some iron. So a little bit to work with for the military, a little gold for some walking around money. Yeah, something for culture. Not really anything for science, but we haven't seen too much for science overall. A little bit of production, and then we have some mining territory. Yeah, a little bit. Farm there, okay. Yeah, I mean, this could work. I don't hate this, that's for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't throw this back into the pile. I would try it, for sure. So here we have the trade screen. This is for a game with Carthage and Isabella, if that matters. It sort of does, because we only have one city with Carthage, the civilization. That's all they can have. So all our city resources are piled up here, which is fine because I have 3 camels to help me with that. If I take away a camel, watch these 2 slots here at the end, they disappear. If I want to get that camel back, I'm going to have to take something out, add the camel, and voila. And we'll put this guy back where he was. So that's how the city screen works for Carthage anyway. It's quite long in terms of the number of things you have to stack in there, but that's fine. Normally, if you had a second city, you would spread it out. You would put a camel in another city and put more resources here, for example, but this is fine. Now, in terms of how they affect the different towns, we know that fish give you +3. You can see that here when I highlight it. So if I take the fish out, right now you have 23 food in that town. Take it out, now you have 20. So it's pretty straightforward that way. If I want to take this guy's happiness down for no good reason except he ticked me off, I would take away the +4 happiness, and that should knock him down to +3 instead of +7. So the reason why this screen is so important is because you can manipulate stocks. Well, sort of. You're manipulating the goods, the resources that you have, and you're moving them where they're going to do the most good. So, for example, these turtles here, I don't know why I put them here. Maybe, I can't remember, maybe I have a warehouse in Matcha. If I don't, these turtles are not going to be earning +1 culture because they have to be in a settlement with a warehouse. So for sure I could put them up here because I know this city has plenty of warehouses. And I would get +1 for each of them. So in a sense, putting it here, if I just have one warehouse, it's earning me 1 culture. If I put it up here, let's see if it raises my culture. It's at 38.3. Let's see if that changes it. It changes it to 42. So I had this in the wrong spot. I should have had it up here where there are more warehouses and it's making a difference. That's why I highlighted the 3 resources that were warehouse reliant. You have to remember that. Now, if, for example, I had no warehouses at all, it's really useless putting the turtles anywhere. So why not just put them over here? Get them out of the way. Why would I do that? Because if you look here, you can see that the normal resource, blah, blah, earns +1 culture. But below that it says, when unassigned, your resource earns you 1 gold and 1 happiness. And that's per age. So the next age, when you put a resource aside, like this, in storage, it's going to be earning you +2. And then in the modern age, it's going to be earning you +3 of both of those things, of gold and happiness. So that can come in handy. And if you have a lot of resources, as I do here, that could build up really quickly if you need a sudden influx of gold or happiness. And right now, these are earning me the same thing, right? 1 gold and happiness each. So that can come in handy. I don't think it's a be-all, end-all. It's not going to save your butt too much, but it might. And once is enough. Now here, we have our production, our 10, which would only earn me +2, as we've already talked about, if it was in the city, but it's earning me +4 here. So where am I going to leave it? I'm going to leave it here. So right now I'm getting +8 between them, and plus whatever I've developed outside. So I must have developed about 12 production points on my main map in Matcha. So yeah, not too bad overall. Now this one, Cowrie, earns me +4 gold in the cities, which is great. Or +2 science in a town. Now this is, I think this is the only resource that actually changes what it gives you. And that is pretty handy. I like it right now because this is the late game in Antiquity. I want more science for sure. Gold, I've found other sources. Science is harder to find sources for. So all my calorie at this point, and you can see some more calorie up here, should be in my towns, earning me the extra science. I don't think I've got any up here, just that one turtle. I really got to move other turtles up there. I don't have any others. Okay. So presumably most of my goods are in the right spots right now. Now, if I looked at Maleth and I realized, and oh no, I want to put my turtle back up here, sorry. Maximizing everything. I'm not a min-maxer, but when it comes to this, I love this screen. I love moving the goods around. It's kind of fun. Until you have a happiness crisis and it gets really desperate. And that is something that you have to consider is where are you going to get the most happiness? You can see your happiness levels for each town here. And I'm only going into this to discuss resources. See, that's only at a 1. So if I built another town somewhere right now, this would go down to -4. And whatever production or growth that Maleth was doing would slow to a crawl. But if I didn't want that to happen, I would take this from here, and I would only go down to -3, giving up, not -3, I'd go down to 4. I'd lose 3, so I'd lose 4, I'd go down to 3, which is fine. And I'd move this up here, but then if I built another town, this would go to -2. You see what I mean? When it comes to happiness, I can get a little more frazzled, but I'm not worried about it right now, in any case. But I keep an eye on that in the trading screen and make sure the happiness levels are where they should be. No problems in my capital, that's for sure. So if the unhappiness crisis comes up, I can assign all the unhappiness to the capital and it can absorb quite a bit. So that's the trading screen, or not the trading screen, your actual resource screen. Let's see now what happens when we get a trading screen. We're going to go back to our capital. We're going to look at actual trade with resources and see how that works. So we're going to take a merchant, we're going to buy a merchant because we want to save a little time here. And we'll go through the turn. Okay, so here we have a merchant. Let's take a look at him. There he is. There he is. That's our little guy. So our merchant is going to help move our resources. Now, we have some opportunities here. Now, he's not moving any specific resources, but I wanted you to see this screen so you could get an idea of what you can get from others. Now, this is the various cities. You can see the leaders here. These are independents who might be on the way to being absorbed, but they show up here. Oh, well, I don't really have too many connections right now. Let me see if I can improve my trade with anybody. Yeah, I can improve with him. I can improve with him. And I can improve my trade with him. Okay, so now let's see what shows up. Oh no, I don't want that. I want this. Okay. A few more faces here. Good, good. Okay. So you can see Augustus here, and you can see Lafayette here, and that looks like Jose Rizal. And is that it? Okay, for now. So, if I want to trade with Katana, I can only trade with so many cities, like 1 per leader or per civ. And then doing what I just did, improving trade relations, gives me another potential trade route with that civ. So right now I have 1 of each for the ones I just paid influence for. Now, Katana gives me some hardwood and some gold and some jade. Not bad. 4 resources, great. But you have to look at what's actually in there and then consider how far away they are. They're not close. That's another thing. Athenai, well, now there's some cotton. Again, end of the age, which is where we're at. Not as useful. Iron would be good if I was in a military struggle, which I kind of am in this game. Yeah, not bad. I like that. Cowrie, blah, blah, blah. But when we get to Parset, if I were having a storage problem and I saw somebody was willing to trade away a camel, that would be one of my first picks. The other thing that happens with trade, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, is you get a 5-point bump on likability with the leader you're trading with once your stuff arrives at the city you've sent it to, or the town or settlement you sent it to. So that's a bit of a bonus too. But it's really important to look at what you're trading for. Now, if you're trying to fill up, if you're trying to complete, you know, I want to call it a quest, but that's the wrong word. If you want to fill up your stocks and you want to get in the old version of the game that you want 20 resources filled up in your slots, in the new version of the game that's coming, it's going to be 24 will get you some points. You might want to go for the person who has the most to offer. But I tend to pick and choose a lot more now than I did when I first started playing the game. I try and look around and see what's on offer. Is there anything you could use? Now, as it turns out, I've got 3 camels. I don't know where to park them all. Maybe I don't need a camel. But in most games, I probably do, and this might be my first pick. Or maybe I need a lot of gold, in which case this guy's got some gold, some hardwood. Maybe I'm building up a navy. That, you know, then Katana would be perfect. And then Athena or Athenai, that's got a little mix of things. That's not bad. So you have to look really carefully at what you're trading for, because that could make a difference. Who you're trading to can be important too from a diplomatic point of view. But that's not exactly what we're talking about right now. So, but just so you know that is a factor. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I love my camels. Maybe we'll do that anyway. And it gets us some tin and some salt. Those aren't terrible. So we'll click on that, we'll send merchant, and they'll get there someday. In Antiquity, it takes a little while. But that is the essence of the resource game. You're going to hunt for resources. You're going to, oh look, I have another merchant here. You're going to hunt for them, you're going to store them, you're going to swap them between settlements to take advantage of the bonuses you get. You're going to trade them. You're going to trade for new resources, and you're going to try and build up what you already have based on what others can give you. So that's the essence of the resource game. It's pretty straightforward. I love all the colors. And I love being able to move the actual resources from niche to niche. It's kind of cool. I like that part of the game. What am I going to trade for here now? Didn't I just trade? Oh yeah, so that didn't disappear yet. You can still trade for that if you want to get there quicker from somewhere else. But then you have to stop the other trader, which can be a nuisance. You know, I think, what the hell, let's try for a navy. We'll get some extra hardwood. All right, well, in any case, that's it for me now. This has been Civilized Raccoon. If you've liked what you've seen or you've heard, please drop a like or a subscribe down below, and I'll see you next time.